Okay, everybody. I want to do a kind of, this was a requested video, actually. So I'm going to do some talking, and we're going to feed the mantises. Hopefully she's ready to eat. I said give her 2-3 days. She should be perfectly fine. Looks like she's kind of interested, so we'll see what she does there. Maybe. She may not be interested. Oh, yes, she is. Okay, so we're going to let her eat for a little bit, and you guys can kind of see if I can get a good, and turn off this overhead light. Maybe we can zoom in on her a little bit more. Okay, back. And I've got to figure something out with this phone. For some odd reason, it's enlarging as soon as I start videoing, and I got to figure out what I changed in my settings. There's got to be something that I changed that's doing it. But anyway, because I'm not getting a very good close-up of her doing what she's doing there. So this is the topic, and again, I'm not going to profess to be any kind of expert whatsoever, because I'm not. But what I'm seeing is there's many groups on Facebook now. There's a ton of them. And they all have their own nuances. There's some that are a little bit more informational wise, so people are a little bit more straightforward. There's some that are a little bit more playful. There's some that are just starting out, and there's not a lot of experienced keepers on there, but they're starting to increase. There's a few to stay away from them. Now, I'm not going to get into specifics on the different groups, but this was a topic that came up, and it was basically knowing when you're going to be over your head. Okay, and without going into too much details, the specifics were: I had a keeper, a young mom, as a young child, basically had a lot of arboreal spiders, mostly avics. So, avicularia, maybe metallica, carabina, versicolor, I think an Iberipora, diverse piece. I'm not exactly sure what's all in her collection. And I guess the spider that she feared the most out of all of those would have been Salmopes cambridgei. So she went to wherever it may be. I don't think it might have been a show, an expo. And she had one specific tarantula in mind. And I think that one was probably a little over her head also, and I think that she's realizing that now. But anyway, she was kind of talked out of that and talked into I think I don't know what their classification is Cereopogopus lividus, or if it's the Haplopelma lividum, whichever one, the cobalt blue tarantula. Now, she got it as a small little sling, and I talked to her on a private message, and I'm sure she'll end up watching this, so you know who you are. And again, I don't want to get into specifics, but she was worried about rehousing it, and it's still a little small sling. So she was thinking about the future and what she needed to do to house it. She was looking at the bagging method, which I've never done. It just seems to me it's a lot easier just to use a catch cup, but not everybody can do that. So she's trying to figure out how to do this in the future, and she wasn't really catching a lot of flack, but she was catching a little bit of flack, and I could tell that she was in over her head, and she wasn't really ready for it. Not that I don't think that she could have handled it, but the reason that she wasn't ready for it is because of her basic worrying about the spider getting out and harming her child. And I think when you get to that point, what the heck is that thing is eating? And it's eating a silkworm or a waxworm. It looks like it's eating a worm, doesn't it? Rip the entrails out, maybe. It's a good possibility. But so she wasn't sure what to do. So I talked to her, and she's going to have somebody else take that spider, and she's going to get something different. And she had asked about an Armenia, and I said, difference between an Armenia and cambridgei to me is cambridgei is out a little bit more and a tad bit more predictable. Erminias, you just never know. They just want to blow right up out of an enclosure, especially if they have a cork tube that's, covered up with their dirt curtains and you can't see them. Sometimes they just explode right up out of the enclosure. So I recommended a Salmopaeus pulcher, which I think is a lot calmer of a Salmopaeus species. They're out more so you can see them, so you have a better idea of where they're at. And that's, what she gets from there, that's, I don't know. But she wanted me to talk about the topic of when to know that you're over your head. Now, again, a lot of people get into the hobby. First off, it's an impulse. They're at the pet store. Oh, look at that spider. That's cool. Let's bring it home. We bring it home, and now we don't know what to do with it. Most of those are avics and rose hair tarantulas, and a lot of the Brachypelma albopilosum. So you're kind of somewhat safe in there. They still need the proper care, but you're a little bit, you can make a little bit more mistakes with those than you can with normal spiders. The avics are a little bit more complicated, but not too much more if you just do a little bit of research. But you're not going to have a crazy old world fast Asian species running around your house worried about it. Is it going to bite my cat? Is it going to bite my kid? Is it going to bite me? How do I rehouse it? They run around the tub. They'll climb the sides of the enclosure. Peer pressure is huge in this hobby, and there's people that think that because they've kept spiders and they may have brass balls, and they started out with their first spider was a Tarantula marinus, the OBT. She's watching me over here. So they think that everybody can do that, and they don't understand the ramifications of basically saying, hey, yeah, I think you can handle that, not actually getting into the details. And, this person's a little bit still afraid of spiders, as a lot of people in the hobby are. They're still afraid of spiders. So the fear of spiders and then adding that fear of your child getting bit by an old world species really, really drove home, the fact that she knew she wasn't ready for this spider. And I think she knew it when she got it, because she did say on her way home she was having second thoughts about it. So she's going to have somebody else take it, like I said. But what I want to explain to you is you don't have to buy something because it's pretty. There are so many Asian species that are just gorgeous tarantulas. I can't remember is it Haplopelma or Hottie, or the Ornithoctonae species are really, really cool looking. The Ornithoctonus, the Oreotibialis is really cool. Even take the Poecilotheria species. The Asian species and the African species, they are spectacular looking, and everybody wants that cool looking tea. And everybody thinks that they're ready. You get to that point where you say, oh, I think I'm ready. And I've had actually a lot more people lately say, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for that. I want to wait. I want to do this. I have little kids at home. I want to make sure I can handle this. And, so even though there are what everybody quote unquote calls your normal spiders, Nandu chromatus, Nandu coloradovillosus, Acanthoscuria geniculata, the Lasiodora species, Paraibana, Kluge, difficilis, right? Difficilis. Those species right there, to me, or even Ephiboppus murinus, Ephiboppus cyaninaea. Now they're fast. The three that I mentioned in the beginning, the Acanthoscuria species, the Nandu species, and the Lasiodora species, are three species that I would recommend that you keep before you decide to go get an old world. Now, I'm not saying that everybody has to do that, but if you have thoughts whatsoever in your head that I'm a little leery about this, I'm not really quite sure I want to do this, but man, look at that spider, it's so cool, especially the cobalt blue, the Lampropelma species, the Haplopelma species, those things there are, even though they're pet holes, when they're angry and upset and they want to flee, they will. And you just, the Chilobrachy species, another one. You just don't want that in your house around little kids if you have any apprehensions whatsoever. If you're thinking to yourself in your head when you're at that expo and you see that cobalt blue sitting in front of you at 1 inch long, how am I going to rehouse this in 2 years or when it's 4 inches? I'm already sweating bullets right now. Don't buy it. I'm telling you right now, don't buy it. You're going to resent it. You're going to dread having to do it. You're not going to care for it the proper way. You're not going to house it or rehouse it when it needs to be rehoused. So bridge yourself, bridge yourself from the species that I said. Again, you don't have to take my word as gospel, but try to get an idea of what you want when you're going in, and do that research. And even though you can go online and you can do all the research, and everybody says this, well, as long as you research that species, you're going to be fine when you get it. I don't believe that. I don't believe it at all. I did tons of research when I first started getting heavy into this. My first old world was Poecilotheria vittata. After 3 days, I took it back because I wasn't ready. It looked cool, and I wanted that cool looking Poecilotheria. But after 3 days, I knew I wasn't ready. So I took it back to where I got it, and I ended up with the Aphonopelma gabelli female. And, a couple weeks later, after doing a little bit more research, working with the pumpkin patch is the one that really kind of helped me out because that thing was so fast, what to expect with the spiders. I went back, and I ended up with the male Poecilotheria saphusca. This is the first one that I had. And he was so calm and gentle and easygoing. Rehouses were easy. He gave me more confidence dealing with old worlds. And then from there, it was just, the OBTs and more pokies, and then the Chilobrachys and a bunch of other stuff. And, and here we are today with a bunch of African species, a bunch of baboons, a bunch of Asian species that I have. But I'm starting to scale back from those, or at least trying to, because as I'm getting older, my reflexes are getting slower. And I know that someday that I'm going to make a mistake and I'm not going to be able to react fast enough. And I'm going to have a loose, huge spider in my house that I don't want. So know what you have to do, how to rehouse things. Again, my recommendation is in the spring, summer, if you guys that have warm temperatures all the time, go buy a tent. Go buy a 4-person tent. And if you think that you're going to have an issue rehousing an OBT, take it outside, zip the tent up, go in there, rehouse the spider in the tent. The worst it's going to do is crawl out and run around. And odds are it's not going to crawl on you. So if you are a little bit apprehensive, you have that big, huge open space to be able to maneuver and work and not get all worked up about it. When you're in a bathroom and you're locked in a smaller space, especially if you have a small bathroom and trying to work in a tub, one of them spiders bolts, you can't react fast enough. I've watched the videos. I mean, look at Tarantula Dan, the OBT that he had running. I think it was him that he tried to rehouse or ship, and it was running around the tub. These are people that have done it for a long time and still have a hard time doing it. Now, their methods are a little bit different. They just kind of poke them out and hope that they go where they want them to. But, I try to do the cup over top method, or, the ply or a piece of cardboard over top with a hole cut out of it, pry them up into there, in that instance. So, let me know what you guys think about, tips on, maybe we can do a video for beginners when they're going out to buy that first old world species, or if they have any kind of apprehensions, what to stay away from, and how to not be talked into something that you're not really quite sure that you want to get. And I think that that's what happened here, is that she was talked into something that she wasn't really quite sure, but because the person that told her, yeah, it's a pretty good spider, I think that you can handle it, she felt that she could, and then she realized that she couldn't. So, again, I'd love to have everybody's feedback on this, so that we can, come up with a good idea and a good plan of how to attack. I'd make some videos on I think a good series would be on buying the right tarantula for you. And I can get some information from some people and talk to some newer keepers, because I have a lot of new keepers that are friends of mine now, and a lot of seasoned keepers, and those ones that are in between, those intermediate keepers that have been keeping 6, 8, 10 years. Maybe I can compile some data and figure out a way to figure out what is the perfect spider for you to buy as a beginner, as an intermediate. What's the best old world species to first buy? That would be a pretty good idea. I think it would be a good series to do. And I got one thing I want to show you. I end it right there with the whole talking and jabbering and blah blah blah. But this is the female. Again, she just molted. I'm going to get her molt out of there before I put her away, and she's still eating, so I'm just going to move her back a little bit, get her out of the screen. And this right here, folks, is a male. So I got a male and I got a female, and when they're ready, I'll put them together and try to reproduce these. I'm not quite sure. I have to figure out exactly how big she gets and when they're actually sexually mature. He's smaller than her, which is normal for males, and you can see by the segments here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 segments, which makes it a male. I'm going to try feeding him too. But I'm going to do that off camera because we're running out of time here, and the video is going to cut off, and it's not going to be supported, and I'll have to do it all over again, and I'll be mad. So I hope this helps some people, and please, come on the groups, look me up. Let's talk about the topic, or private message me on Facebook if you're friends of mine already. Leave messages down below if you want to leave your Facebook ID and you want me to send you a friend request. By all means, put it down below, and I will do that. And let's try and all get together and find a good way to help people be comfortable in the beginning and comfortable throughout their whole entire collecting or keeping career. So have a great day, and we'll talk to everybody real soon.